Let's bust the absolute biggest myth in business right off the bat, shall we? I mean, how many times have you looked at some skyrocketing company and thought, wow, they just got incredibly lucky, right place, right time? Well, I'm here to tell you with absolute certainty that consistent, scalable growth, it isn't luck. No way. It is strategy. It's a deliberate, meticulously crafted formula that literally anyone can learn and apply. So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unlock the complex cipher of business growth using what we call the growth decode framework. If you've ever felt like scaling a business is some kind of dark art or, just a total roll of the dice, get ready. We're about to break the whole shebang down into a completely predictable, highly actionable blueprint. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover strategy over luck. Then, marketing versus brand impact. After that, we're decoding customer psychology, exploring the value-driven engine, and finally, bringing it all together with the compound effect. Section 1. Strategy over luck. This fundamental mindset shift is absolutely crucial. It means we have to completely move away from that old throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks method and instead embrace a real structured approach. Because true business growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. It requires decoding and mastering very specific interlocking disciplines: marketing, branding, and customer behavior. It's really about taking the guesswork totally out of the equation. You decode the patterns, you plan the execution, and as a result, you grow. It's a sequential process that directly drives up those numbers on your charts. Moving right along to Section 2, Marketing versus Brand Impact. Now that we've got our strategic foundation laid out, let's look at the communication layer. We really need to distinguish between two concepts that get mixed up all the time, and honestly, usually at a huge financial cost to the business. Look at this direct comparison. Marketing creates awareness. It's your megaphone. It gets eyeballs on your product and brings people to the front door. Branding, on the other hand, builds trust. It's your reputation. It's the feeling, the core reason they decide to actually stay and buy. You absolutely need both to survive, but understanding the difference, that's the secret to creating actual impact, rather than just making, expensive noise. Let's look at that megaphone in action for a second. Marketing creates awareness, sure, but it's the strategy behind it that creates the real impact. To do that, you've got to tag it right, keep your message incredibly clear, and make sure your value is undeniably strong. And here's a massive takeaway. People don't ignore ads. They ignore irrelevant messaging. Seriously, think about that the next time you hit skip on a video ad. You didn't skip it just because it was an ad. You skipped it because it had nothing to do with you, right? Applying strategy to your communication changes everything. And right here is where branding takes the wheel. A strong brand is basically a gold shield of protection, quality, and trust. Trust builds loyalty through recognition, reliability, deep connection, and setting yourself apart from the competition. When you nail those four elements, you hit the ultimate goal. A strong brand makes the right choice feel effortless for the consumer. You just become the obvious, safe, and preferred option. It's a total game changer. Section 3. Decoding customer psychology. Let's pivot for a minute from what businesses do outwardly, the marketing and the branding, to why customers actually buy. Think about your own business for a second, or even a brand you personally love. Ask yourself, what are your customers actually buying? Because I can guarantee you, if you look closely enough, it's never just a physical product on a shelf or a basic service contract. Now, what's really interesting about this is when we map out exactly what's happening inside the human brain during a purchase. We see that people don't buy products at all. They buy solutions to their pressing problems. They buy identities they want to align with. And they buy emotions they desperately want to feel. Ultimately, they're buying a transformation. If you can deeply understand the human mind's desire for that transformation, you will absolutely win the market. To pull this off effectively, we have to bridge the gap between hard numbers and human nature. Think of data like a rearview mirror. It tells you exactly what happened yesterday or last quarter. But behavior, the psychology we just unpacked, that's your headlights. It tells you what's going to happen next. By combining your data with psychology, you stop just reacting to the market. You predict it, you influence it, and you secure that upward growth trend. Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly predictable pattern. Customer behavior is not random. It follows a really clear cyclical journey. It starts with a trigger, moves into research, then a decision is finally made, followed by the actual experience of the product, which, if you do it right, loops right back into lasting loyalty. The Growth Decode framework shows us that smart businesses take this circular pattern, lay it out as a clear step-by-step journey, and relentlessly improve every single touchpoint along the way. Section 4. The value-driven engine. So, we've mapped the customer journey, we've looked at the psychology, but what actually fuels this entire engine? What is the core philosophy that drives sustainable long-term growth? Well, it all boils down to a very specific, uncompromising definition of value. Real value is never just about slapping a low price tag on something. Actually, scratch that. True value is about solving real problems, building absolute trust, and genuinely impacting lives so you can serve your audience as deeply as humanly possible. So, the crucial point is this: focus entirely on value, and the money will follow. Think of it like holding a glowing diamond in the palm of your hand. It's precious, it's clear, and it draws people in. It's a natural byproduct of doing the right things. When your primary focus is solving problems, building trust, and making an impact, you create immense, undeniable value. And the golden rule here is absolute. When you serve deeply, you grow infinitely. Section 5, the compound effect. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when you apply this decoded framework consistently. The strategy, the branding, the psychology, the value, when they all click, something magical happens. It sets off this incredibly powerful chain reaction. A better strategy directly leads to a stronger brand. A stronger brand creates happier customers. Happier customers naturally stick around, giving you higher retention. Higher retention leads to more enthusiastic referrals. And all of that, it snowballs straight into massive, sustainable growth. Every single step perfectly builds on the foundation of the last one. Just look at that upward trajectory. Business growth is fundamentally a compound effect. It is almost never an overnight explosion. It's the rocket ship built on small wins and consistent actions over time that inevitably yield massive results. When you decode your strategy, master your marketing, build undeniable brand trust, and deeply understand your customer's mind, you are stacking those wins every single day. That, my friends, is the true blueprint to lead forever. So after seeing this entire blueprint mapped out today, I want to leave you with one vital question to ponder. Which part of your business do you need to decode first? Is it your foundational strategy, your brand's trust factor, or maybe it's your understanding of customer behavior? Pick just one area. Start applying these principles today and watch that compound effect take hold. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.